Welcome to our sports podcast tonight. This is Cory. We have a special guest with us tonight. His name's Quist. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm very excited to be here.
That's no problem, man. Unfortunately, we're going to be talking about the NFL matchups this week, but we're not going to have enough time for the Vikings, unfortunately. I know you're a big Vikings fan, but, maybe next time we'll be able to fit them in.
Yeah, I understand. This week we get to play the Bills. I'm just hoping we don't make anybody retire this week. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, the team they played last week did make somebody retire, but, we got to jump right in. So the first matchup we're going to look at tonight is going to be the Colts at the Eagles. We got the Super Bowl champs versus the Colts. Now, when I look at this matchup, you see Andrew Luck and the return of Carson Wentz. What I look at is you look at two quarterbacks who, as far as I know, have never played each other yet because he has been hurt. And you got a Super Bowl defense versus a defense that's not that good. So the way I'm looking at it, if you get the best out of Carson Wentz, the best out of Andrew Luck, it could go right down to the end, man.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. Carson Wentz, I do kind of expect him to be a little bit rusty. I mean, coming off a serious knee injury and that ACL tear. He's definitely a tough athlete and all, but I think he might have to kind of get a couple games in before he's really doing what we saw from him last year. I think the Colts could pull an upset off here, and I heard you mention they're obviously that defense not very good, and they do need some more pieces. But one thing I do want to mention about them, they've got a rookie in Darius Leonard who was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week last week, and he had, I believe, 17 or 18 tackles in one game. Unbelievable, unheard of. So in the middle linebacker, that's a quarterback of the defense. So if that guy is going to be able to carry them, that defense could be something people shouldn't be sleeping on.
You're not wrong at all on that, man. Because the biggest thing is, everybody looks at, you got some of these other teams, they got a Khalil Mack or they got a Luke Kuechly or something like that. They look at these names like, if you ain't got them, you probably ain't got nothing on defense. But like you mentioned, the guy had like around 17 tackles, something like that. I mean, that's not something to sleep on right there. I mean, granted, it's not the secondary, anything like that. But when you got a piece of defense, even rookie, as I believe you mentioned, I mean, you can't sleep on a defense who has a young piece right there that is starting to prove that he can do something here in the NFL.
Yeah, and the other thing about the Colts is they are very young on the defensive side of the football, so we don't really know what they've got there. They're kind of could be a sleeping giant if Andrew Luck, and it does all come down to Andrew Luck, if he can play the way that we've seen him play in the past, that team is definitely going to be a threat to win on Sunday.
You're definitely not wrong, man. Now we're going to jump to our next matchup. We got the 49ers at Chiefs. The biggest thing I see from that game, man, is you got young quarterback and Jimmy Garoppolo and Patrick Mahomes. Everybody was looking at Jimmy Garoppolo. Hadn't lost the game until the season had started as a starter, that is. And then you got Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he had thrown through a lot of interceptions throughout the preseason, training camp, and everything like that. But he has come on and he has showed that he can be a real contender in the AFC West.
Yeah, that's going to be a very good matchup. I think you got two young quarterbacks, perennial stars. I think two quarterbacks you look at, and based on the way they performed in recent memory, Garoppolo obviously starting off undefeated until his recent loss against my Vikings, in a game that he looked pretty solid in, and then obviously Mahomes with the best start, not only as a rookie quarterback, well, he's not a rookie, but a young quarterback, but the best start we've ever seen perhaps in NFL history by any quarterback, whether that's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes has really lit it up. So we're looking at two guys that could be, looking to be the face of the NFL down the road, and two teams that around them, I think, we're not talking about great rosters around them, so it should be very interesting to see how this one plays out.
See, I agree with you. I mean, you look at a team like the Chiefs. I would say the Niners, but the Niners, yeah, they got Jimmy G. They have Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon's getting old. But you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's got a lot of young talent. He's got a running back, a wide receiver, even a tight end that's not too old. If they wouldn't have traded some of their defensive pieces away, the Chiefs, I think they would have been able to go a little farther. But they're kind of both in a rebuild. But I think the Chiefs are closer. them both up right now.
The other thing I want to highlight on is Matt Breida of the San Francisco 49ers, their running back. He is leading the NFL in total rushing yards. So I think that's something that people obviously are sleeping on. I had never heard of the guy until this year. I do fortunately have him on my fantasy team, so I'll be holding on to him. But he could definitely be a threat. That Chiefs offense, like you were mentioning, it's definitely got talent. It's the defense that brings concern to me. They've lost a lot of pieces over the last couple of years. So they're definitely going to have to score some points to win football games, which they've obviously had no problem doing so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, man. I think the biggest question mark is definitely that defense. But unfortunately, it looks like we've run out of time for tonight. So we just want to say thank you for listening to this preview of this sports podcast tonight. I'm Cory.
And I'm Kurt.
And thank you for listening.